Today we're going to learn about hexadecimal numbers. But before we do, we need a review on our decimal numbers, which is the system that we currently use, decimal or base 10. We see in this example we've got the number 5,783. And we all know that that's represented by 3 in the ones place, 8 in the tens place, 7 in the 10 times 10 place, or 100s place, and 5 in the 10 times 10 times 10 place, or thousands place. That's why this is called the decimal or base 10. We go up a base of 10 for each place. When we add all those numbers together, 3 plus 80 plus 700 plus 5,000, we get 5,783. Again, that's our decimal or base 10 system that has the numbers 0 through 9 in that system. We're going to be looking now at the hexadecimal or base 16 system. That is a little different. It's similar until you get through the number 9, but after the number 9, you use the letters A through F. So to count in base 16, you would count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. So the 0 through F are your numbers in the hexadecimal system, and the orders of magnitude are times 16. For example, this hexadecimal number, the F is times 1, the 7 is times 16, the C is times 16 times 16, which is times 256, and the 5 is times 4,096, which would be 16 times 16 times 16. Let's take a look at that and work that problem out. Here we see, again, the base 10 number of 5C7F. The F represents 15 ones, because as you see, the F is represented by the number 15. 15 ones. The 7 is 7 16s, because we are now in the first 16 base place. The C represents 12 256s, because 16 to the second power is 256, and the 5 is 5 4,096s. So when you add all those numbers up, 15 ones is 15, plus 12 256s is 112, plus 5 4,096s is 20,480, for your total of 23,679. So the hexadecimal number 5C7F is equal to, in base 10, 23,679. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do some conversion from hex to decimal. So what we're going to start with is what looks like the word bad, but that is actually a hexadecimal number. And when we interpret it as so, we can look at the D, and when we look down our number line for the base 16, the D right here, counting up, would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I have D in the 16 to the 0 power, which is, remember, any number to the 0 power is always 1. So that'll be 13 times 1. The next place I have in my base 16 is the letter A. Remember, the letter A in base 16 is actually, in the decimal system, the number 10. So that would be 16, or 16 to the first power, times 10. And then the first digit in our base 10 number is a B. Remember that the B is the number 11 in the decimal system. So now I have 256, or 16 to the second power, times 11. So 13 times 1 is 13, plus 16 times 10 is 160, plus 256 times 11 is 2,816. So the hex number BAD yields 2,989. Let's try another one. This hexadecimal number, 2BAD. Again, as before, The D, which is in the 16 to the 0 place, is 13. The A, which is in the 16 place, would be 16 times 10, which gives me 160. The B, which is in the 256 place, is signified by the 11 in the decimal, and 11 times 256 gives me 2,816, and then I've got a 2, which again is just a 2, 2 times 4,096, which gives me 8,192, and when I add all these numbers up, 13 plus 160 plus 2816 plus 8192 yields 11,181. So that's how we convert hex to decimal. Finally, we're going to go the other direction and convert decimal to hex. And we touched on this a little bit earlier, talking about the different place values. You remember in the decimal system, we have ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. In the hex system, we have ones, 16s, 256s, and 4096s. And a similar way to represent this is 16 to the 0 power, which is 1. 16 to the first power is 16. 16 to the second power is 256. And 16 to the third power is 4096. So let's start with this number. Let's say we had the number 74 in the decimal system, and we wanted to convert it to a hex number. Well, what we would do first of all is figure out how many places is that hex number going to have. And because 74 is less than 256, I know I'll be looking at a 2-digit number for my hex system, for my hex number. So what I can do then is, starting with this number 16, or 16 to the first power, divide 74 by 16, and that will go in 4 times. 4 times 16 is 64, and I have a remainder of 10. Now working at my first digit, we know that 10, when I look back on my number line, is represented by the letter A on the hex system. So we see that 74 is equal to 4A as a hex. Now let's take one that's a little more complicated. Let's look at the number 680. Well, we know right from the start that this is going to be a 3-digit number because it is more than 256 but less than 4096. So we'll be working with 3 digits. So the first thing we'll do then, for my third digit, 256, we'll divide 680 by 256. It'll go in 2 times. 2 times 256 is 512. When you do the subtraction, you end up with a remainder of 168. So now we're working on our second digit. So we divide 168 by 16. 16 will go into 168 10 times with a remainder of 8. And remember that 10, again, in the hex system is represented by the letter A. And our final remainder, A, is just the single digit 8. And on the hex system, it's the same. So the number 680 in the decimal system and the hex system converts to 2A8. 2A8. So that's an introduction to the hexadecimal system.